What if you had the secret to immortality? What if you had the knowledge that would bring on the next phase of human evolution? And not only that, but you could undo all the tragedies of the past. You could make everything right and awaken mankind from the nightmare of history. Say you weren't famous and you didn't have any kind of a platform. Still, you've got to get the message out. The fate of the planet depends on it. It's 1996, and Kansas City Star reporter Doug Worgel hears that exact message. He's on his way to get a barbecue beef sandwich, and as he's walking along the street, he notices a strange marker. Toynbee idea in Kubrick's 2001, Resurrect Dead on Planet Jupiter. It's not graffiti, it's a tile, hard, and it's stuck to the asphalt with a powerful adhesive. Worgel would often walk by this tile. He'd wonder about its meaning and its maker, or makers, but it was a few years before he took his inquiry any further. One day in the early 2000s, he decided to Google the phrase. He learned that these Toynbee tiles had been spotted in more than 20 cities across the country and a few in South America. 50 tiles had been discovered in New York, almost 30 in Philadelphia, 20 in Baltimore, and one just a block away from the White House. The tile Worgel found displayed the most common message, but it certainly wasn't the only one. In a number of them, we can read of persecution at the hands of the feds or journalists or even Meals on Wheels. Things were getting stranger and more opaque, but Worgel kept digging. He contacted Kansas City's street department, but they didn't seem to know anything. But then he discovered a 1983 article in the Philadelphia Inquirer. It was an interview with someone named James Marasco, who believed that the planet Jupiter would be colonized by bringing all the people on Earth who had ever died back to life, and then changing Jupiter's atmosphere to allow them to live. This had to be the guy. The article goes on to state that Marasco is part of a group called the Minority Association, and that they're contacting talk shows and news organizations to spread the message. Among researchers into these Toynbee tiles, there were stories of pirate broadcasts, so like a TV or radio signal would get hijacked and a strange message would come through. During at least one of these pirate broadcasts, the Minority Association provided an address, and one listener wrote in to learn more. That listener received a number of documents that explain everything. I don't have one of these pirate broadcasts to share with you, but I have read through the documents, so I've decided to create a reenactment.
Hello, we are the Minority Association, and we have a message to the world. The press is lying to you. The government is lying to you. My name is James Marasco, and the CIA sent men to take my life for the secret I'm about to tell. Arnold Toynbee was a British historian and one of the most widely read and celebrated public intellectuals of the 20th century. In 1979, I discovered a passage in one of his works that reads as follows. Through climbing a ledge of evolution, the first cavemen made the first stone tool. In our day, humanity has the power to bring every dead molecule of every human being of history back to life through scientific means. This is when humanity climbs the next ledge of evolution at this point where we can do anything God could do and are able to fulfill all of those big promises that God has made about what the afterlife would be. This passage is from his autobiography. It's his final message to humankind, and people were listening. Arthur C. Clarke, who co-wrote Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, also authored a story called Jupiter 5. In it, a ship named Arnold Toynbee is on a mission to Jupiter, so Clarke knew Toynbee and his work. And 2001 is about a mission to Jupiter, but 2001 doesn't open in space, it opens with cavemen discovering the use of tools, so both Kubrick and Clarke were familiar with the idea. And 2001 doesn't end with the death of Dave Bowman, the main character on his mission to Jupiter. No, it ends with his resurrection. We don't have it yet, but we will one day have the technology to bring about the resurrection of the dead. This is our message. Humankind should concentrate all their efforts to this end. If we change the gaseous atmosphere of Jupiter to be one like Earth, all of the risen dead will be able to live there. It will be a paradise as beautiful as anything imagined in the Bible, but it will be made real through the power of science.
So that's it. That's what Toynbee idea in Kubrick's 2001 Resurrect Dead on Planet Jupiter means. It might sound like an outlandish plan, but it's actually not a unique one. And for the record, we know who made these Toynbee tiles, and their name isn't James Marasco. But if you find out a little more about this person, you realize they don't want to be identified publicly. So I'm not going to name them. However, it got me thinking. People have searched through the works of Arnold Toynbee, and they've never really seen it articulated in the way that the Toynbee tiler speaks about it. And because James Marasco is an alias, I'm wondering, is Arnold Toynbee one too? There's this Russian philosopher named Nikolai Fyodorov who proposed something extremely similar. He believed that humanity's common task was to make the resurrection of the dead a reality. Of course, once the dead were brought back, we'd have to figure out where to put them. Human beings would have to venture into the cosmos, colonizing other worlds. Jupiter is a huge planet. If you don't know much about it, you might imagine it's a perfect spot for our ancestors. Unfortunately, it's mostly made of gas and extremely radioactive. You'd be dead in an instant if someone dropped you off there. The task proposed by the Toynbee tiler, if it could be accomplished, seems extraordinarily noble. But there's a deep, unfixable spiritual problem with it. See, what they're trying to achieve is the resurrection of the dead. In the documents, he states explicitly that science will bring us to a state where we can do anything God could do and are able to fulfill all those big promises that God has made about what the afterlife would be. He's seeking to usurp the role of God. This is an impulse common to many popular movements. For example, the Marxist attempt to bring on the end of history, a secular messianic era where goods are distributed from each according to his ability to each according to his need. Or the transhumanist worldview, where immortality is achieved by the union of human beings with technology. Political philosopher Eric Voegelin called this a desire to immanentize the eschaton. The eschaton is the end times, the last day, in which Christ will make all things new. When we seek to immanentize it, we're trying to take the power from God's hands because he's not operating on a time frame that's convenient for us, and we've grown impatient. Trying to take the power from God and to usurp his role, there was a being who did just that a long time ago, and it didn't exactly work out. This isn't to condemn the Toynbee tiler. He's someone that suffered immensely, and he struggles with mental illness. He deserves our sympathy and our prayers, and for the extraordinary works of art that he's left in 2 continents, he merits our admiration. This impulse, though, to immanentize the eschaton, it's a dangerous one. And people far more powerful and far more competent than that guy are doing it all the time. This Luciferian desire takes the form of different ideologies, but every one of them is toxic.